Whether you're buying or selling your home, get the benefit of expertise.
Hey, well, compliments to the show. You're really hitting on the subjects and you're telling the truth. I appreciate you.
Meet the team at dangemus.com. And now, filling in for Dan Gemus, your host, Joyce Blackmere.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. With me in studio, I have Lisa Ciparoni, Aaron Blackmere, sales reps with the team. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And gal. And gal, guy and gal.
There you go.
I am Joyce Blackmere. I'm the Director of Sales and Broker with the team and your host today, covering for Dan. He will be back tomorrow. So we're going to dive into some ways that buyers can help sweeten their offers. And it can sometimes come down to more than just price. Now, to be very, very clear and transparent, price is obviously going to be the number one driver for sellers. Like they need or want or need, right? A certain amount to be able to move on to their things. And in many cases, so for sure, that's going to be the main driver. But there's other things that can be done to help sweeten the deal, when you're making an offer on a property. So that especially comes true, I guess, when we're putting in like competing offers, for example, right? You want to make your offer stand out from the others. And again, price plays a big deal, but it's not always the only factor that's important to a seller, depending on what it is that they're wanting to do. So I'm going to go through this list. I'll let you guys, chime in with your comments and your experiences as well.
I think it's important to keep in mind the kind of market that we're in now versus where we were a while ago, right? So we're dealing with maybe one or two competing offers. We're not dealing with 20 anymore. So
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends on where you're at. Like I haven't heard you guys competing with tons and tons of offers lately, but I've seen some that are up around 7, 8.
It still happens. We just don't, it's not 40. Like I've been in times where there's 40, 47 offers. That's not happening anymore.
Yeah, no.
You're down more. Like the most I've been in recently was 6.
Yeah. So these tips probably are going to lend a lot more weight to getting noticed than they would in the past.
Okay. Yeah. So let's have a look at these. Okay. So number one, after price is flexibility on the closing date.
Yep.
So revolving around the closing date, it's a critical aspect of your offer. If the seller's looking for a quick close or has a specific date in mind, accommodating their schedule can really make your offer stand out. It's about aligning your proposal with the seller's needs. We've definitely come up with against that. You know, maybe the sellers bought a house somewhere else. They've got a closing date already scheduled, and everybody needs to sort of make the dominoes fit.
Right. The more flexible you can be with it, it's usually better.
Number 2, pre-arranged financing. Providing evidence of pre-arranged financing, like a pre-approval letter or a mortgage certificate, can significantly strengthen your offer. It reassures the seller that you're prepared and serious, minimizing the risk of a deal falling through due to financial hiccups. And we ran into that quite a bit. Financial hiccups was a thing for a while.
The past couple of years, it was definitely scary at times. It was kind of like the old Wild West out there for a while with what was going on, but definitely that's a big one.
And our jobs as realtors, both on the buyer or seller side, it's not just about putting the deal together. Obviously, that's important, but we want it to close too. Yep. Everybody needs it to close. We don't want to have either client in sort of
situation.
Where they're in breach of contract or whatever.
Right. Can't fulfill their obligations. Conditions on or whatever.
We're in this to alleviate as much stress as possible and put it together so that everybody is happy as possible. Fewer conditions. Conditions can make or break your offer. So limiting these is, if you can,
pre-approved.
Yeah, exactly. By getting pre-approved is important. Now, I mean, sometimes you can limit your conditions, but if you need conditions, like we said, our job is to not just put the deal together. It's not deals at all costs. We need to get the deal together and we need to keep it together so that everybody can move on to their next stage.
It's not about getting rid of the things that you need. It's about rethinking the things that you could do without. Like, do you really need something in there saying that you want to build a garage and you want to make sure that you check and make sure that everything's good, right? Like, if it's important for you, then include it, but be a little flexible on what is super, super important to you and be open to seeing how that might not be perceived properly by the seller, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing is to safeguard your interests.
Yes.
Always. First and
Always.
foremost.
Yeah.
But, if you find yourself in a competitive bid, then that's something that you can
Something
look
to
at
look
and have a
at.
discussion with your realtor, your lawyer.
Yeah.
Consider the deposit. That's a big one.
Yes.
And it's
It is.
become more and more prevalent in the market, I would say, especially over these past few years. A substantial earnest deposit signals to the seller that you're deeply committed to the purchase. It's a gesture of good faith, and it can really set your offer apart. Back in the day where we do $1,000 deposit all the time, sometimes even a $500 deposit, we're seeing now oftentimes 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 50,000 or more dollar deposits, depending on the price of the property, of course.
Sometimes even countered with, hey, can you put more on the table?
Yeah.
Because we want
Right.
to make sure that our sellers are nice and cozy.
Right.
Or after you've removed conditions, you agree to put on more. We've seen all kinds of different things.
like additional deposits
come up.
after.
Yeah. Now that deposit money is held in trust. It is applied towards the purchase of your property. So if you can swing it. Awesome. That could be something to set you apart. A personal letter to the seller is up next. Never underestimate the power of a personal touch. A letter to the seller expresses why you love their home, and it can resonate on an emotional level. And this is particularly effective in competitive offer situations, but not always. I think just in general, sellers like to know. A lot of sellers like to know why you want to buy their home, why you love it. I think that's nice to share.
Well,
I think so too.
Attach pictures as well. Sometimes if you're
Yeah.
a young family with a new baby, or you got pets and it's a big yard that's fenced or something like that, I find it does go a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Leaseback option is another one. Now, I would say in 17 years, I've probably done this maybe once or twice. So this can be a win if the seller needs extra time to relocate or find a new home. It means you agree to let them rent the property from you for a short period after the sale. You can also have conditions, like sellers can add conditions to offers as well if they need some time to find suitable accommodations. That's something that can be done. But I mean, from the buyer's perspective, that sort of weakens the seller's side. So, and this, for the point of this conversation, we want to strengthen the buyer's property. So that's an option. Covering additional costs. Another thing that I haven't really had to contend with, but in 17 years, but heard of it and had other people do it, where the buyer offers to cover certain costs for the seller. So like legal costs or closing costs, that kind of thing. It's a way of sweetening the deal and easing the seller's financial load. And the last one on my list for now is a quick inspection period. We always recommend inspections. If you can do an inspection before an offer presentation, that's amazing. But if you want to have it in there as a condition, you could shorten that period. Try to line things up. Your realtor can help you line things up with a trusted home inspector to get that done relatively fast so that you don't have to keep the seller waiting for a week, hoping that you remove your conditions and firm up the deal.
Yeah. And usually you just need a few days.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? There's one more on the list here. A professional reputation is a big one. The reputation of the team that you use. And when I say team, I mean your realtor, your lawyer, your inspector. That really does matter. It goes a long way when it comes to negotiating. When you're collaborating with experienced people, it provides assurance that the transaction will go smooth. Now, the assurance is more so for the realtor on the other side to say, hey, listen, I've worked with these people in the past, or I know this lender and I know that if they've said you're good, they're good to go, they are good to go, that kind of thing. Reputation is everything, literally. So, that's a real positive too.
It's a huge one. That is a really big one.
Yeah. That's all I got on this list. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you guys would want to add to that?
That's a pretty good list.
I think it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything different there, but it kind of hits on everything that I would say makes an offer more attractive to a seller.
The letter is a big one, and so is the professional people that you surround yourself with.
Yes.
Really, it's so strong. I'm sure you've been at the table too, where where you'll look at two offers and you'll go, you know what, though? Like, I trust this one more than I trust this one. It's just
Absolutely.
the reality of the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get
Yeah.
a good feel, and you get to know your counterparts.
And the seller's agent's obligated to share that information
Yes.
with their seller, right? Make sure that everybody, is making really good, wise, and informed decisions all across the board. So, so that's our list. If you have any questions, you can always, again, reach out to the team. You can give us a call, 519-566-5565. You can find us online at dangemus.com. You can always email myself or Dan or anybody on the team as well if you have some specific questions that you'd like to be dealt with on the show. We are happy to do that. We got to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we're giving away the $50 gift card to the Richmond Popcorn Company. So this is your last chance to text the keyword butter, BUTTER, with your first and last name to 10800, and we will do that draw in just a few minutes. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some tips for readying your outdoor power equipment for the season. Lots more to come here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.